Construction industry is considered as a domain with high accident rates. The risk of accidents are higher for smaller companies and subcontractors, while environmental conditions such as weather are identified as contributing factors for accidents. Generally, men are in greater risk of accidents than women because the domain is strongly male dominated. The construction industry is characterized by multi-employer work sites. Building contractors or developers hire subcontractors, the smaller companies, to assist them in fulfilling their work projects, and subcontractors hire subcontractors to divide the work. This leads in long subcontracting chains and complex networks, such as fragmentation of labor in between various companies, increase safety risks in the work sites. Outsourced workers get worse training and tend to be less familiar with the work environment in comparison with the in-house employees. Outsourced workers are also paid less and treated worse, which can impact their negativity and vulnerability to working conditions and safety. The work setting of the multi-employee work sites are described by the metaphor of a core periphery structure. The core exists on in-house employees who work directly for the client company. These in-house employees have high job security, strong union support, and opportunities for personal development. While on the other side, on the periphery of the structure, working contractors with temporary work projects, and they are very uncertain about their prospective work, and they usually being employed with a very flexible working contracts without any security. Researchers stress out that achieving safe workplace is highly dependent on management motivation and commitment to safety issues, especially on building relationships, on mutual trust between individuals and functions on different levels of the organization. Employees' participation is considered as crucial in an efficient control of workplace hazards and risk. However, the multi-employer work sites and especially the status of contractors can very much affect workers' motivation to participate in safety activities. For example, contractors can tend to accept work-related risk as something inevitable, and the risk become normalized. We should also mention the matter of cultural and language barriers related to contractors' involvement in safety. These areas can be problematic. Communication about work permits, instruction, and risk, level of education among workers from another countries, cultural differences leading to misunderstanding of on-site regulations and safety norms, workers' individual work situation, under-reporting of accident, working overtime, cooperation between client companies and contractors can be related to developer skepticism in bringing personnel from another countries.
The most appreciated channel of communication are meetings in the construction business. There are different tools to use, but the web-based tools also work well as in-person meetings. The traditional way in construction is to transfer information with blueprints and then in paper form in 2D. When there are flaws in communication, it costs money. Therefore, there is of interest that the communication works well and there is money to be saved. Communication in the construction business is important not to lose time in the project. It is characteristic for the business of construction, the lack of time. There are different stages in the cycle of project where there is a need for transferring information. This communication is of great importance not to lose valuable information or to interpret things wrong. There are agreements of contracts that has standard formulations that says how a project can be communicated to have limits of responsibility drawn in a clear way. There are in the project process some meetings to consider: the start meeting, the construction meeting, and the coordination meeting. Informal communication on a site is of importance. The lunchroom on the site gives room for that. The notice board is important for spreading information on a site. There needs to be a responsible person for it, so that it can be up to date. There are two types of responsibility in the construction business in Sweden, and they have different organization plans: total contract and general contract. What difference in these two is that in total contract, the developer is responsible for the projecting. In general contract, there is no contract with the consultants in the project group. And if there is a change in a blueprint which comes with a cost, this must go through the developer. A project is performed by a project leader, the boss of the project, that has on account of a developer, a person, organization, or company order, or by him or herself are performing a building or facility. The project leader has responsibility for that the communication works within the project and then has the standard agreements AB04 and ABT06 to relate to. Before the project starts, the project leader develops a coordinate plan. Included in the plan and the project are a lot of consultants. There can be architects, landscape architects, designers, constructors, engineers, calculators, project planners, quality responsible.
In a construction business, there is variety of factors and circumstances that have capacity to change the negative interaction, creating opportunities that could be united with increased risks. When considering construction work environment from a systematic point of view, the compliance with provisions is one area where improvements ought to be taken. If there is confusion between different actors and responsibilities, it might lead to passivity in work management, which could be a big source of flaw. Improvements regarding the knowledge and responsibilities concerning work environment issues within procurement stage is a point where level of safety is primarily set. This level of competence should reflect the whole construction process when responsibilities are divided between different authors. It is also important that an external authority is involved in the process. The examination of the external authority should take place through whole construction process in every stage. The role of the work environment authority is very important when work environment plans are handed over from the designer. From a practical perspective, the time issue is crucial, being a source to many workarounds and shortcuts. Even though this is regulated within the provisions, the compliance seems to be poor. An abolition of accord work is one way in the system to handle this issue. Planning of the work preparations should be included in time schedule so that work environment issues can be identified and managed on the proper way. This meaning also that there should be more resilience in the approaches when needs for changes and replanning are observed. As mentioned previously, communication is very important, and lack of communication can culminate to flaws when several actors are at the same place in the same time. This issue of communication could be handled with limitations regarding the number of subcontractors that are involved in the processes. Subcontractors ought to stand for higher standard of internal quality regarding levels of knowledge and strategies concerning safety and health. The other more subtle factor, namely culture, speaking culture or working culture, has a great impact on how, by whom, and when the work environment issues are discussed and handled. If there is a culture colored by hierarchy, uncertainty, even in worst case, fear for consequences if work environment flaws are discussed, this might lead to severe consequences.